Welcome to Swasti Diaries. The wind howls against the ancient stone walls. A remote Scottish chapel waits in the freezing dark. Adam and Amelia step inside, seeking refuge from the relentless snow. The heavy oak door slams shut behind them with a final metallic click. They are alone, trapped in a structure that feels more like a mausoleum than a sanctuary. Adam touches the cold, damp walls, his vision blurring. He reaches for Amelia, but his hand finds only thin air. The air inside smells of rot, history, and something metallic. He asks if she heard the lock engage, his voice trembling in the vast, hollow space. Amelia remains silent, her shadow stretching long against the flickering candlelight. She knows something he does not. She stares at the altar, her eyes devoid of any warmth or affection. The silence stretches, suffocating and heavy, filling the gaps between their jagged breaths. A sudden sharp sound echoes from the floorboards beneath their feet. It is the sound of a recording device, whirring to life in the dark. Their private nightmare has officially begun, and there is no way out of this chapel alive. The chapel breathes. Cold air bites through their thin coats. Dust motes dance in the flickering candlelight. Ancient stones hold secrets of the dead. Adam drags his fingers across the altar. He finds a deep, jagged scratch in the granite. It looks fresh. The metal of the recording device whirs beneath the floor. Amelia steps into the shadows. She does not look back at him. Her movements are calculated and precise. She reaches into her pocket. She pulls out a crumpled photograph. Adam shivers. He asks her why she is trembling. Amelia smiles, but her eyes remain cold. She whispers that the walls are listening. She tells him that his past has finally caught up. Adam reaches for her hand. She pulls away into the darkness. A heavy thud echoes from the ceiling. Dust rains down upon them. A single rusted key drops onto the stone floor. It vibrates with an unnatural hum. They are no longer alone in the dark. The chapel air tastes like copper and rot. Adam stares at the woman standing by the archway. Her features blur into a featureless mask of shifting gray shadows. He knows she is his wife. He knows the shape of her silhouette. Yet her identity remains a cruel, shifting ghost in his mind. The face blindness is a cage. It traps him in a world where everyone is a stranger. He reaches out to touch the cold stone walls. He needs a reference point. He needs the solid reality of the chapel to ground his fracturing sanity. He traces the deep, jagged scratch near the altar. It feels like a map of a forgotten crime. He wonders if his own hands carved these marks during the blackouts. He looks at the photograph in her hand. It is crumpled, stained, and ancient. He sees his own face in the picture, but his eyes are blotted out with black ink. He turns to her, his voice trembling with a forced, fragile calm. He asks her why she hides in the periphery of his sight. He begs her to show him who she truly is beneath the veil of the flickering candlelight. She remains silent, her posture rigid and predatory. She steps closer, but her face remains a void to his shattered perception. The rusted key on the floor begins to glow with a sickly rhythmic pulse. The floorboards groan under a weight that is not human. He realizes the trap has finally snapped shut. They are not the only ones playing this game. Something is watching from the hollow darkness above. The anniversary letters lie scattered across the altar like dead leaves. Adam gathers the yellowed parchment with trembling, unsteady hands. Each year, they exchange these promises of eternal devotion. Now the ink looks like dried blood under the flickering lantern light. He traces the loops of his own name written in her elegant, sharp script. A cold shiver runs down his spine as he notices the pressure marks. The pen dug deep into the paper with a violent, rhythmic intensity. The strokes are identical to the letters he supposedly wrote to her. He realizes the horrifying truth. One hand authored every single confession of love. Someone has been weaving a masterpiece of deception for years. Adam looks up, his vision blurring, and demands to know the source of this fraud. He asks why the handwriting mirrors his own with such terrifying precision. She remains eerily still, a statue carved from shadow and silence. Her eyes are unreadable, reflecting only the dying embers of the chapel candles. She smiles, a thin, jagged line that reaches nowhere near her cold, vacant eyes. The air grows heavy with the scent of ozone and ancient dust. He turns the final letter over to see the watermark of a private law firm. The date on the seal predates their first meeting by a decade. He is not a husband, but a prisoner in a pre-written script. The chapel doors slam shut with a thunderous final boom. He is trapped in the center of a lie that has no exit. The chapel is a tomb of secrets. Dust dances in the slivers of moonlight piercing the stained glass. Every floorboard groans under their weight, echoing like a dying heartbeat. The air is thick, suffocating, and tastes of metallic decay. Adam moves toward the pulpit, his fingers brushing against cold, damp stone. He discovers a small, hidden compartment tucked away in the wood. Inside, a collection of scratched photographs spills out onto the floor. Each image captures him in moments of extreme vulnerability, taken long before he ever met Amelia. The realization strikes him like a physical blow. Someone has been charting the architecture of his life for years. He turns to Amelia, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and confusion. She stands in the dim light, her expression perfectly blank, utterly devoid of fear. She asks if he truly believes his own memories are real. Her words are sharp, calculated, and designed to dismantle his sanity piece by piece. He tries to scream, but the sound dies in his throat, choked by the oppressive silence. The chapel walls seem to pulse, closing in with a rhythmic, mechanical thud. A hidden speaker crackles to life, playing back the sound of their own frantic breathing. They are not alone in this house of worship. Something is watching from the shadows, recording every desperate move they make. The doors remain locked, sealed by a mechanism that defies all logic. The blizzard howls against the stained glass. It sounds like 1,000 ghosts scratching at the locked doors. The chapel is now an island of ice. Adam paces the cold stone floor, his boots clicking like a countdown clock. He stares at the windows. There is nothing but a white, blinding void outside. The world has vanished. Amelia remains motionless in the center of the nave. Her eyes are fixed on the shadows near the altar. She does not shiver despite the biting sub-zero draft. Her stillness is unnatural. It is predatory. Adam stops pacing. He demands to know why she is not afraid. She turns her head slowly, her face obscured by shifting gray light. She whispers that he is looking for an exit that never existed. Her voice is devoid of warmth. It is a recording played back through glass. Adam feels his grip on reality fraying into thin, jagged threads. He remembers the ink, the pressure, the lies. He realizes he is trapped with a stranger. The chapel lights flicker once, twice, and then die completely. Darkness swallows the room. A single rhythmic sound begins to pulse from deep within the walls. It is the sound of a heart, mechanical and cold. Adam realizes the house is waking up. The memory hits like a physical blow. The apartment was pristine, silent, and suffocating. Adam sat at the oak desk, his fingers tracing the edge of a yellowing envelope. The air smelled of stale coffee and impending ruin. It was the night the facade began to crack. Amelia stood by the window, watching the rain blur the city lights. She held a glass of wine, her knuckles white. She looked at him, but her eyes were not seeing a husband. They were dissecting a target. The tension between them was a razor wire, pulled tight until it hummed. He asked her about the letters, his voice barely a tremor. She didn't answer immediately, letting the silence fester. Instead, she walked toward the desk, her movements fluid and predatory. She leaned down, whispering that he had never truly known his own life. The truth was buried under years of calculated performance. Every word she spoke was a surgical strike against his sanity. He clutched the desk, his face blindness making her features shift into a blur. He felt the walls of the room closing in, turning into the walls of the chapel. The past was not a ghost, it was a blueprint. He realized then that their entire marriage had been a carefully staged play. The ending was written long before he ever said, "I do." The chapel is silent. Dust motes dance in the dying light. A shrill mechanical ringing cuts through the stale air. It screams from the corner, where a telephone sits on a rusted pedestal. No one is expected here. The line should be dead. Yet the sound persists, rhythmic and demanding. Adam stares at the receiver. It looks like a venomous snake coiled in the shadows. He moves toward it, his boots crunching on broken glass. Every step feels like a gamble against gravity. The cord snakes back into the stone wall, vanishing into a hidden cavity. He reaches out, his fingers trembling with cold sweat. He wonders who could possibly know this location. Amelia remains frozen near the altar. Her eyes are wide, reflecting a terror that feels rehearsed. She whispers that he should leave it alone. The phone continues its frantic, metallic pulsing. It feels like a heartbeat, loud and erratic in the hollow space. He grabs the receiver, pressing it hard against his ear. A static hiss fills the silence, followed by a low, rhythmic clicking. It is not a human voice on the other end. It is a recording of his own past, echoing back his deepest secrets. The line goes silent, then a single, sharp tone rings out. He realizes he is not the one holding the power. He is merely a prop in a game he has already lost. The phone cord leads into a jagged hole in the stone. Adam peels back the loose masonry with frantic, bleeding fingers. A narrow passage opens into a cramped, windowless void. The air inside tastes like ancient dust and rot. He steps into the dark, his breath hitching in his chest. Walls are plastered with hundreds of Polaroid snapshots. They are hung in perfect, chilling symmetry. Every single photograph depicts Adam in his most private moments. His face has been violently scratched out in every image. Sharp, jagged lines cut through his eyes and mouth. The paper is frayed and shredded by a blade. He feels a cold needle of panic pierce his spine. Amelia stands at the threshold, her expression unreadable. She asks if he finally sees the truth. Her voice is calm, almost surgical in the stifling silence. He turns to face her, but his vision blurs into static. The room begins to spin as the realization settles. He is not the protagonist of this story. He is the specimen pinned to the board. The hidden door clicks shut with a heavy final sound. The lights flicker, then die, plunging them into absolute, suffocating darkness. The darkness is absolute. It presses against his skin like a physical weight. Adam fumbles in the black, his hands trembling against the cold stone floor. He remembers the prize, the romantic getaway he won in a contest he never entered. It was never a gift. It was a calculated lure. He crawls toward the faint sound of Amelia's breathing. She does not move. She does not scream. He touches the wall, feeling for the hidden switch or a seam in the masonry. His fingers brush against a cold, metallic object embedded in the stone. It is a plaque, rusted and sharp. He traces the embossed letters with his bleeding fingertips. They spell out a date from 5 years ago, the day he destroyed a family to build his own empire. He realizes now the contest was a ghost from his past, haunting him with perfect precision. Amelia finally speaks, her voice cutting through the silence like a scalpel. She asks if he remembers the name of the man he ruined. Adam tries to speak, but his throat is constricted by terror. He realizes the woman he married is not his wife. She is a stranger, a vessel for vengeance standing in the dark. The trap is not the room. The trap is the life he built upon the bones of others. A sudden sharp click echoes through the void. The walls start to shift, grinding against each other with a deafening roar. The floor beneath them begins to tilt toward a gaping abyss. He reaches for Amelia, but his hands find only empty, freezing air. She is gone. He is alone, trapped in a tomb of his own making, waiting for the final collapse. The stone floor stops moving. The grinding silence is heavy. Adam remains pressed against the cold, jagged rock. He is shivering, waiting for the abyss to swallow him whole. His eyes scan the darkness, searching for a ghost. The air smells like ozone and ancient rotting dust. He reaches out, his fingers hitting a smooth glass surface. It is a one-way mirror, cold and unforgiving. Behind it, a faint rhythmic hum vibrates through the glass. He presses his ear against the surface, listening to the steady mechanical pulse of a recording device. The truth hits him like a physical blow. He has been the specimen in a petri dish all along. The woman he called his wife is standing in the shadows behind the glass. She is not a victim. She is the observer, clutching a clipboard and watching his slow descent into madness. She whispers into a microphone, her voice crisp and devoid of any warmth. She asks him if he finally recognizes the face he destroyed. She is the daughter of the man he ruined, and she has been watching him suffer for years. He realizes now that his face blindness was the key. He never knew who she was, and she used his own defect as the ultimate weapon. He screams, but the sound is swallowed by the thick, soundproof walls. The lights flicker on, blindingly bright, revealing the small, sterile observation booth. She turns her back to the glass, walking away into the soft, golden light of the hallway. He is left in the dark, a puppet whose strings have finally been cut. The door is locked from the outside. The game is over, and the prey is finally alone. The room is a tomb. The air hangs thick with the scent of old paper. Adam finds the anniversary letter on the floor. It lies there like a dead bird. The ink is still fresh in his mind. He traces the loops of the cursive. The pressure is identical to his own frantic notes. One hand authored both sides of this tragedy. The deception is absolute. He stares at the paper until the letters blur into black venom. He looks up at the glass partition. The silence is a physical weight. He screams her name into the void. No answer comes back. Only the cold hum of the recording equipment remains. He knows the truth now. He was never a partner. He was a project. The glass is weak. He picks up a heavy brass candle holder. His knuckles turn white. The metal feels like ice against his skin. He strikes the mirror with everything he has. The glass cracks into a spiderweb of jagged teeth. He lunges into the hole. The darkness swallows him whole. A shadow moves in the corner. He feels cold steel press against his throat. The game is not over yet. It has only just begun. The blade bites into his skin. Adam freezes in the dark. He stares at the figure holding the steel. He cannot see her face. His mind fails to process the features. It is a blur of gray static. He is trapped in his own broken biology. The woman steps into the sliver of moonlight. She does not speak. She waits for him to recognize her. He searches for a familiar angle. He finds only a hollow void. The mask of his wife has finally slipped. She drops the knife. It clatters on the stone floor. The sound echoes like a gunshot in the chapel. He lunges forward in blind desperation. He reaches for her throat. His hands meet empty air. She is already gone. She has stepped back into the shadows. The wall behind her clicks. A hidden door slides open. He is left alone with the scratching of a pen. The recording device hums a final, mocking note. He realizes the truth too late. The target was never him. He was the distraction. The real Amelia is watching from the walls. She is the architect of his slow collapse. He collapses onto his knees. The chapel lights flicker and die. The door locks from the outside. There is no way out now. The snow has finally ceased its descent. A suffocating silence blankets the stone ruins of the chapel. Moonlight bleeds through the shattered stained glass, casting jagged shadows across the floor. The biting cold settles deep into the marrow of the walls. Adam remains on his knees, his breath hitching in the frigid air. He scans the room for any hint of her presence. His fingers brush against the cold, discarded knife. It lies abandoned near the base of the altar. Every corner of the sanctuary feels like a watching eye. He whispers her name into the void, but only the wind answers. The sound is hollow, devoid of comfort or truth. He realizes then that the silence is a weapon. It confirms he is truly, utterly alone in this trap. He presses his ear against the cold stone of the wall. A faint, rhythmic clicking echoes from deep within the mortar. The recording device is still spinning, capturing his pathetic, final moments. There is no escape from the architect's grand design. The darkness seems to lean in, waiting for his last breath to fade. Adam tears the final envelope open. The paper is brittle, smelling of damp earth and old rot. His hands tremble as he unfolds the yellowed parchment. The truth sits heavy on the page. He traces the ink with his thumb. The handwriting is not hers. It is a perfect clinical imitation of his own script. He stares at the letters, realizing the pressure marks match his signature exactly. He has been writing his own demise for years. He whispers to the empty chapel, his voice cracking with sudden sharp clarity. "You were never here," he gasped. "You were just an echo in my own fractured mind." The silence of the stone room feels like a physical weight pressing against his chest. He understands the game now. There is no wife, no victim, and no savior waiting in the shadows. He is the architect, the prisoner, and the final casualty of his own design. The recording device clicks once, then stops, ending the cycle of his madness. Please subscribe to Swasti Diaries for more dark tales that linger in the shadows long after the lights go out.